Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your playing with your slime last week. This week we're going to be doing more of an experiment than a craft, unlike the last 2 weeks, but we're still going to have something really cool to look at the end. We're going to be making a density rainbow. I have my rainbow on right now. We're going to be using the colors of the rainbow to display buoyancy and density. So I've got a nice rainbow outfit on, and we'll get to talking about how we can use density to create a rainbow. Stay tuned. So what is density? Density is the reason why this ice cube, which is made of water, floats in this pitcher of water. Isn't that pretty curious? Why does something that's made of water float in water? It's because this ice is less dense than liquid water. Density is about how mushed together something is or how spread apart. So last week when we had our slime and we squished it together, we took the same amount of material and mushed it into a smaller area, which although it weighed the same, it was more dense. There was more weight in a smaller area. So that can cause something to be more buoyant, which means floaty or more sinky. Another example is, let's say I were to curl up into a ball really, really tight like a contortionist. I still weigh the same. If I put myself on a scale right now, I would weigh the same as if I was standing up. But I'm mushed into a smaller area. So I made myself more dense. So everybody squeeze together and you're making yourself more dense. So this ice is less dense than water. If something is less dense, it floats than the thing that's more dense. That's why a boat can float on water, because the boat is filled with air inside. So today we're going to use the concept of density to make a rainbow. What you're going to need is some water, some salt, a bunch of glass cups. We need, plastic is good too, they need to be clear. So we need 7 of them. And then we need food coloring, blue, red, green, yellow, something to mix it with, a measuring cup, and a straw, and ideally a funnel. If you don't have a funnel, you can make do. Let's get started. So I didn't mention it before, but you should also have some paper. That would be helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up on the screen a table that's filled with measurements. And these measurements will help us to have the salt in the right ratio. Ratio is comparing the amount of one thing to the amount of the other. So we need the right ratio of salt to water and food coloring to water. So this table you can screenshot or copy down onto a piece of paper, and you can use this to follow along with me as I do it. So here's the instructions. Okay, so once you've put all the correct amounts of salt in, 4, 3.3, 2.5, 2, 1, and none. Now we're going to do the same, but with the food coloring. So the table here with the ratios, the correct ratios that will make our chemistry work out, says to put 2 drops of blue and 1 drop of red in this first cup. What color do you think that's going to make? I think it's going to make purple. 1, 2 drops of blue, 1 drop of red. Then it says the next cup to just put 2 drops of blue. 1, 2. So I'm going to keep following the table through the rest of the instructions. Okay, now that you've added all the correct amounts of food coloring, where we're going to have some purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, we're going to add half a cup of water to each one of these cups. So I have a pitcher of water, and then I have a half cup measuring cup here. So my purple glass is just plopped off, so let's see what color we get in this first one. kind of a bluish purple. If you want it a little more purple, you can add another drop of red. And then the next one should be blue. Yeah, there's a nice blue. A little more water in that one. Then I'm thinking green. This is so fun. I just like looking at these colors. And then yellow. And then should be orangish. And then lastly, red. Got these lovely rainbow colors here. So now what you want to do is mix all these up. Let's get this salt dissolved. Dissolved means when you have something that's solid and you mix it and it becomes a solution or part of a liquid. So I'm going to keep mixing all these. You go ahead and mix yours. Okay, so after you've mixed in all the salt, we're ready to start making our rainbow. But first I want to talk about what do we think is going to happen here. So we put salt into these cups, and we put the most salt into the purple cup, and then a little bit less in the blue, a little bit less in the green, a little bit less in the yellow, a little bit less in the orange, and none in the red. So there, we put salt into here, but put the same amount of water. Salt has weight, so we put more weight into the same amount of volume of liquid. So that means this purple cup is more dense than this blue cup. There's more weight in the same amount of volume or area. So because the purple cup is more dense, I expect the purple cup to sink to the bottom and then it to layer each of these on the top. So let's go ahead and pour our purple liquid into our glass. Now what I want you to do is to take a piece of paper and crumple it up into a ball and just plop it in. This is going to help just make it easier to pour things in without it mixing too much. So now that you've done that, if you have your little funnel contraption, let's go ahead and use that. So now I'm going to take the blue and pour it in. So you would think that when you normally pour two waters together, they just mix. If I have 2 glasses of water, normally of different colors, and I pour it together, they mix. Why don't we see what happens? So before we go ahead and continue to see what's going to happen here, let's see what happens if we combine 2 cups of water that have the same density. So let's not put any salt in. So I'm going to put a little bit of water in both cups. And then how about let's add some yellow to one. And let's add some blue to the other. So now I have yellow water and blue water. I didn't put any salt in these, so they're just water. They have the same density because water always has the same density. So what do you think is going to happen when I pour these in? They're going to combine. Yellow and blue make green. So these combined. However, we're going to see now that when we change the density of the water, we can keep things separate because this less dense blue water is going to want to stay on top of the more dense purple water. So let's see what happens. Look at that. So we have blue floating on top of purple. Now let's try to add the green. gonna keep going. The slower you add it, the better. And now the red. So now look what we have here. I'm gonna hold it up to the light so you can see better. So you'll notice that the blue is on the bottom, the purple and blue is on the bottom, the more dense, and then the slightly less dense green and yellow, and then we finish with the orange and red on the top. And if I try to take this paper out, you'll see that the liquids even have a tough time kind of trying to blend together. Look, it's bouncing, the red is bouncing on top of the green, and it's having a tough time kind of getting into the green because it's such a different density. They don't want to combine. Let's take a closer look. So one more time, let's take a look. I put it in front of this light so we can really see the less dense orange and reds on the top, then the green and the blues and the purples. And if I try to mush these together, the red kind of just sloshes down and then comes right back up because it doesn't want to combine with the less dense green. It really wants to just float on the top, and the green is more dense, so it wants to sink back down. Okay, so now that I have this mess to clean up, I encourage you to go play around with yours, try poking at it, and also if you want to try again, that's totally cool. It took me a bunch of tries to get it to settle right. If you do it too fast, it doesn't come together, and you see it's already starting to mix. If I went a little slower, we probably could have gotten even better layers. So that's part of science, is trying and trying again. And I encourage you to keep trying to see if you can get a rainbow that you like even more. Pour it slower, try changing the ratios, but just keep trying and have fun with it. And we will see you next week for a brand new science experiment. See you then.